And just as a little update for you, it also appears in this book, which is, and that was what I was. It's the updated version. So now I've got stuff beyond 2006.
Excellent.
But the cheap bastards did exactly the same print for this one as well. So there you
You got
go.
to cut costs some
Good.
way, John. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is, and whatever part of the world you reside. Welcome back to another episode of the Audiophiles. I am Andy. Fellow over there is John, and we listen to and talk music. So, John, you're going to offer up a track for me to go off and check out. Then we are going to chop it up for quite a bit, I'm sure. What'll it be today?
The band is Happy Mondays. Much to my surprise when I checked my records. Um, I'd given you one previous Happy Mondays track
Yeah.
over 2 years ago and nothing else. And I thought I'd given you like three or four, and I thought I'd given Greg a couple, but I know he'd done some. I gave him a black grape one. So it was about goddamn time. So you're going to listen to a track called Loose Fit.
Okay. All right. The previous track was Hallelujah. Is that right? Okay, yeah. I vaguely remember that, although things are starting to come back to me the more I think about it and we discuss it. So,
It's Club Mix.
yeah, exactly. Hallelujah. Let me I do remember that very much. Let me go off, give this thing a spin, and then we can discuss it further. Already loving these auxiliary percussions. Bass. The rhythmic texturing in this track is already catching my ear. Yeah, love the way that came in. I hate to do this, but I want to pull that back and just listen to it start over again with all the little touches. I mean, they come in very, hand on drum or stick on drum, and then you have these like a rain stick type sound that comes in after that that adds this added layer of texture and this really like kind of tremolo laden arpeggio guitar uh, that does sound very English to me. I mean, I don't want to name bands that I've named ad nauseum when I hear that kind of sound, but it definitely sounds, which is interesting because this is more of like the Manchester sound, if I'm not mistaken. And from what I recall, having discussed Hallelujah, um, but still there is this. I The tone of this guitar actually reminds me of like the post punk, the English post punk movement that we've talked about before on the channel. Loving it the way it sounds and how it started. Swirling bass. Very rhythmic.
Has to be loose fit. Has to be loose fit. Go on, moving it. Go on, do your bit. Small or big, take your pick. Doesn't have to be
musically, that guitar is going to be the hook in this song that gets in my head. I can already tell.
Don't need no skin types in my wardrobe today. Fold them all up, put them all away.
That guitar buried down in there.
Won't be no misfit in my household today. Pick him on up and send him on his way. Do what you're doing, say what you're saying, go where you're going, think what you think, it sounds good to me.
I was gaga over the sort of rhythmic texturing that was happening, and now they're doing the same thing with vocal tracks, where there are these like these haunting ethereal vowel vocalizations that are going on, and then there are also these more this more overt approach to adding to the vocal tracks by these female vocals that are harmonizing at points too. I think we heard during what sounded like the chorusy bit, and all that's great too. I mean, texture on texture, and I think that adds to the well, I guess it gives it a little hazy, a little echoey kind of thing. It leans into the psychedelic kind of like house music type aesthetic they're going for, and it does it justice. It does it like its approach is done really well, so that it leans into or makes the focus point the listener experience, which is great when you're in a setting. Maybe you've indulged in this, that, or the other, and you're listening to this in like sort of a group setting, or even a live setting, and it just enhances it. It feels like you're falling into the song, or the song is absorbing you.
Don't know what you saw, but you know it's against the law, and you know that you want some more. Oh, heard it all before. Gonna buy an Air Force base, gonna wipe out your race, get stoned in a different place. Don't you know I got better taste? Do what you're doing, say what you're saying, go where you're going, think what you think, it sounds good to me.
That bass. During that bit, I think this is the first time I've really noticed it, where that earlier I noticed that very faint guitar compared to like the more forward tremolo arpeggio guitar, and they're kind of like, it sounds like while the one's playing, the other one is sort of like several rooms down going away, but you can pick up the faint. It's almost like creating the shadow effect, or this depth perception thing where one is like much closer to you and the other one is in the distance trailing behind, but you can still pick it up. I want to see if I can.
Do what you're doing, spend what you owing, pay what you're paying, look where you're going, say what you're thinking, kill who you're killing, sing it
sort of slow, somnambulistic fade. It's going to go out on its own terms. Oh man, yeah, I really enjoyed that. I think I like that more than Hallelujah, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah, this had a lot to like and a lot to kind of pick through. The way it was produced and the different levels of the players involved here, um, kind of grabs your attention. But it could also, depending on the state of your mind, just wash over you and create this trance effect where it's the sum of the parts that has you locked in and sort of just like on another plane. But if you're, you know, not under the influence of something, you can really dig deep into this and hear different parts of it. And, you know, I don't want to beat the dead horse that is the word texture, but there is a lot of it happening in this track. And I think that is what, for me, like kind of pulled me in and kept me listening. Uh, some wonderful rhythmic movement in this track between the drums, the percussions, and that ever present bass line that is just swirling around beneath the surface of this track. That again kind of pulls you in and doesn't really let you go. Now, from what most of what I could catch, it really sounds like it was about, you know, the fashion aesthetic of this, you know, movement and the people that were a part of it. This sort of baggy, loose fitting clothes, as the title would connote. But at some point, he said, after all this stuff, it's like, do what you're doing, say what you know, and all of a sudden it's like, kill who you're killing. And I'm like, holy shit. This doesn't, where are we at right now? Where did this come from? You know, maybe it was, maybe it's a throwaway line. Maybe John can underscore why that interesting ear catching line was in there because it made me, but nonetheless, I could really see how this would be like, could burrow its way into your head in a lot of different ways. That just the trance nature of the rhythms, but also from like a musical hooky standpoint and a melodic standpoint, that arpeggio guitar work as well really stuck out to me. It'll probably be the thing that I'm humming in days to come as I reflect on having listened to this track. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. Like I said, this one, I think the part of what pulled me away with Hallelujah was like the very high pitched, like consistent injections of like the hi, and this there's nothing that pulls you out of the trance. It keeps you in there, I think, and that's uh for me in this listen was a comfortable pocket to exist in while giving this thing a spin. So we've talked about these guys before, but I'm still interested to learn more, particularly, you know, if this is on another album that, you know, Hallelujah wasn't, if we could get into that a bit more. And I'm sure John will take me to school on these guys, so there's one reason to look forward to a Monday. So let's get back to him and chop it up.
Adam Chance, he's back. So you've had to listen to Loose Fit by the Munders. What do you think?
Mondays. uh, so the track opens with some nice, almost slightly tinny, sounding tremolo laden guitar that leans into this arpeggiated single note motif, and it has a bit of that. The guitar tone has a bit of that British post-punk sound to it that we often hear in a lot of the guitar tones that came out around, I don't know, mid 80s ish. I don't want to name any names for the sake of name abuse on this channel, but a certain band comes to mind when I hear this guitar tone. Um, and beneath this, we get treated to some lovely auxiliary percussions, providing some really much needed rhythmic texture to the track. And texture is a song or is a word that this song has tons of. which is probably why I enjoyed it so much. The bass is moving around beneath the surface like backwater swirling, to quote Mr. Kirkwood of the Meat Puppets. And this creates that trance inducing effect I recall experiencing the last time we covered Happy Mondays on the channel. This also had added bits of like haunting sounds that occasionally appear and then vanish, and they give the song this added bit of like otherworldliness. They enhance the psychedelic energy and mood throughout. And if I'm not mistaken, this subgenre of music was rife with this kind of sound, and people would go to the club to hear this kind of music, and so it all checks out. And yes, as I listen to this, more recollections of my experience listening to Hallelujah came flooding back in. I must be honest. The more lyrical narrative I'm exposed to in this track, the more I'm beginning to realize there's a very, or I think that this is the case, a very literal meaning to the title. It sounds like they are hyper focused on the fit of their clothes. In this case, baggy, loose fitting attire. These guys have no trucks for skinny jeans or form fitting tops. Also, there's a nice combination of male and female vocals throughout this track, which again is something I think I recall hearing in the last track that we covered, specifically the Hallelujahs. Um, at the 2:38 mark, after the Sounds Good to Me line drops, the music pulls back a bit, giving way to this playful motif on the keys over top of the bass, and then that arpeggio guitar returns. And throughout this portion, there are some more faint but haunting vowel vocalizations being deployed judiciously. And this all continues to build this very atmospheric vibe to the track. And then we launch back into the chorus portion, and for the first time, I catch lines I hadn't noticed or that I were not yet featured. Something about "say what you're thinking." I think up until this point they had been saying "say what you're saying." He also sings this very interesting and jarring line, "kill who you're killing." Which, Jesus, man, if you like baggy jeans, that's great, but you don't have to impose your fashion rules on everybody else. Um, I didn't have that one in my bingo card of potential lyrics, especially after making the assumption that the song was mostly about fashion choices and aesthetics. But yet, here we are. The stanza of lyrics wraps up, and from here it is a slow, somnambulistic kind of fade until the end. And I could see this track being a big hit with club goers in the during the Manchester scene. The rhythm section really pulls you in with this hypnotic movement, while the that arpeggio guitar riff acts like a musical hook that kind of burrows into your head. All of this adds up to a very psychedelic and atmospheric musical experience. So yeah, this was really great stuff. I think I have to admit that I enjoyed this more than Hallelujah, and it may be the absence of that that was featured so often in another track that kind of warmed me up to this one. But I did just feel like it kind of pulls you in, which is interesting because at points hyper fixated on all the little things. Like there is this other guitar that is almost the shadow or a faint, distant, competitor in a race, kind of trailing behind that very forward arpeggioed sound that they're doing. So it was kind of fun to like hunker down and trying to figure out where one starts and the other one stops and how much they overlap. But there are other times where you could just kind of close your eyes and let the sum of all the parts kind of pull you in to this psyche trans thing that they've got going on here. So it was fun to kind of well, one, see what naturally the song made me do, but to also try to step back and fight that a little bit to just kind of feel the different parts and all the little things happening in there. Like I said, these haunting oohs and little deployed sounds here and there that add to the kind of, otherworldly psyche nature to the whole track. So yeah, really, really fun stuff. So tell me a bit more about this one, and if this is another album rather than the one that Hallelujah had featured on. I'd be interested to learn more about that as well.
Yeah, thanks for that, Andy. Yeah. So as we talked about, a mere 2.5 years ago, I gave you Hallelujah brackets Club Mix. We talked a lot more about the band, etc. I'll put a link down below to that episode. So if you're interested, you can go and catch up with that. I'm just going to talk really about this song and this album. Um, so yeah, context. Just to recap very briefly, Manchester band, for anyone who didn't know, Happy Mondays, formed in 1980. They were very famously on the Factory Records label. Go and check out 24 Hour Party People, the film, if you haven't seen it. It's fantastic, and you get an idea of the nature of the Ryder brothers. Yeah. So they have been labeled as baggy, alternative dance, post-punk, Manchester, and neo-psychedelia. I will say that the band are probably the ultimate magpie band in terms of picking things that they liked and smooshing them together to create different sounds. And they sound steadily progressed over the years to an apex, which I think is probably around about this song, in my opinion. Not to say that Road to Luck is absolutely fucking unbelievably brilliant and one of my favorite songs ever, but anyway. So this track is from their wonderful and groundbreaking third album, Pills and Thrills and Bellyaches, which is this guy here. You'll see it's a collage, and it's actually American sweet rappers and then some other shit they bunged in as well. And they had to hastily change it when it was released in America because they feared copyright strikes all across the board. But yeah, it's a really fantastic album. So the lineup: Mr. Sean Ryder, vocals; Paul Ryder, bass guitar; Gary Whelan, drums; Paul Davis, keyboards and programming; Mark Day, guitar; Bez, dancer; and additional musicians: Rowetta, guest vocals; and Tony Castro, percussion. So, following the breakthrough release, Manchester Reborn EP, which, and then we had like the remix of Hallelujah, which you heard. They appeared on Top of the Pops, the nation's favourite music show at the time, alongside the Stone Roses in one episode, which is quite something. The Manchester scene really burst centre stage in the UK. However, at the same time, relationships between the band members became strained. But just an aside, I saw, I don't know, was it 4 years ago, in our very small local town, an evening with Sean Ryder, where he came and he did these things. I've seen a few of them now. Very different people I've seen do this, where they sit on a stage and they're interviewed by someone who just feeds them lines. Mr. Henry Blofeld, who's a cricket commentator, we went to one of those. Very different evening from Sean Ryder. But in the Sean Ryder one, he was saying that people started getting up their own arse and he was falling out with everyone. I've forgotten what he said, but he said basically the keyboard player was completely up his own arse and thought he was a massive star. And, I think also Sean Ryder was picking fights as well.
Yeah.
So, the relationship between the band members was strained. The manager, Nathan McGough, spent more time partying than actually managing the band. Sean Ryder was especially disconnected from the others, using heroin as a crutch. So in February 1990, the Happy Mondays label in the United States, Elektra Records, picked them to contribute to this project, which is a covers album for the 40th anniversary of Elektra Records compilation. So, and I remember him talking about this. So they're basically given a long list of all these Elektra artists and said, you can do a cover of any one of these. And they initially, Happy Mondays, were going to do a cover of a Tom Waits track. Imagine that.
Yeah,
Thankfully, that didn't happen. Someone had suggested John Congo's and the song "He's Gonna Step on You Again," which is initially about land grabbing in Africa. And Sean Ryder did say that the band were full of apathy for the project, and they picked that because they couldn't give a toss. At the suggestion of their manager McGough, Paul Oakenfold and Steve Osborne produced a song, marking the first time either of them had done so. And unbeknownst to them, Oakenfold and Osborne added vocals from a session vocalist, Rowetta, who had met the manager McGough some weeks earlier at the Hacienda in Manchester. Fast forward several years, Rowetta is a permanent member of the band. She was just a guest at the time, though. Um, as the band thought, then heard it, I thought, wow, they thought their cover would be wasted on the Electra compilation. They basically knocked off a quick version of another Congo song, its follow-up called Tokoloshi Man, and gave them that. So that'll do you. Um, they then kept their version of He's Gonna Step on You Again, shortened it to Step On, released it as a single in March 1990. I remember it well, and it got to number 5 in the UK charts, so becoming a platinum selling single. And basically, they sort of really launched them properly. So Paul Walker and Steve Osborne were enlisted again to produce the album that followed. They started recording in LA. Sean Ryder suggested going to a different country would be a welcome break, and they had pondered other countries, which unsurprisingly are probably linked with the drugs trade. So they were thinking about Amsterdam and then Barbados, but they ended up in LA. But and they started doing sessions, and they did actually work pretty hard. Factory founder Tony Wilson visited the band because he feared they'd spent all of the entirety of the recording sessions partying instead of working. But on hearing a version of one of the early songs, Bob's Your Uncle, he exclaimed the band's next release would be one of the greatest British albums of the age, because that's how Tony Wilson spoke. The band then flew home in August 1990, and one by one they went into studios in London to do further work, where Rowetta came back and she did guest vocals on the album as well. So, regarding the title, Pills, Thrills, and Bellyaches, Sean Ryder said the band had wanted a mature rock classic title, but then we thought, fuck it, let's give it something that everyone's expecting. So that's why they called it that. uh, so, reviews. It kind of got not mixed reviews, but not as enthusiastic as it got sort of retrospectively. It took a while for it to land with people to think it was a real classic. All music. At their peak, the Happy Mondays were hedonism in perpetual motion, a party with no beginning and no end, a party where Pills and Thrills and Bellyaches was continually pumping. The apex of their career, brackets, and quite arguably the whole baggy Manchester movement, Pills and Thrills and Bellyaches pulsates with a garish neon energy, with psychedelic grooves, borrowed hooks, and veiled threats piling up on each other with the logic of a drunken car wreck. Lifting melodies at will, Ryder twists the past to serve his purpose, gleefully diving into the gutter with stories of cheap drugs and threesomes, convinced that God made it easy on him and blessed with that knowledge. Happy to traumatize his girlfriend's kid by telling them that he only went with his mother because she was dirty. He's a thug and something of a poet, creating a celebratory collage of sex, drugs, and dead-end jobs where there's no despair because only a sucker could think this party would ever come to an end. Hell of a writer, that. Pop Matters saw the album as a band's masterpiece, calling it the Ulysses of modern rock music. The rock album that didn't just question rock music was, but ignored what rock music was. And Pitchfork said the album was a masterpiece that reinvented post-punk for the rave era, which remains eternally alluring for any musical movement trying to balance drugs, thugs, and hugs, all raving under one roof. The album became platinum selling in the UK and was included in the book 1001 Albums You Must Hear Before You Pop That Last Pill. And there's Deborah. And there it is, full-page spread with the lovely Bez shaking his maracas. Yeah, awesome. Over the page, Pixies bossing over. Not their best, but there you go. Megadeth. Pet Shop Boys, T'other Way. Yeah, I'll skip that page. Ice Cube, Jane's Addiction, LL Cool J, Public Enemy, sorry, Fear of Black Planet. Now we're hitting our stride. Tribe Called Quest. I mean, what a time to be alive. And just as a little update for you, it also appears in this book, which is It's the updated version. So now I've got stuff beyond 2006. But the cheap bastards did exactly the same print for this one as well. So there you go.
You gotta cut costs some way, John.
Yeah, just so that you know. Yeah. So the track Loose Fit was the third single off the album. It was released in February '91, and it reached number 17 in the UK charts. Um, it really is a great album, though. It starts off with Kinky Afro, which was the second single. Fantastic, Gobscott Donovan. Yeah, it's Gumbo's Funeral. Then Lose Fit, then Dennis and Lewis and Bob's Your Uncle's Step On, Holiday in Harmony. Not a duff one amongst them. The lyrics of this track has to be a loose fit. Has to be a loose fit. Go on, moving it. Go on, do your bit. Small, big, take your pick. Doesn't have to be legit. It's got to be a loose fit. It's got to be a loose fit. Don't need no skin tights in my wardrobe today. Fold them all up and put them away. Won't be no misfit in my household today. Pick them all out and send them on the way. Do what you're doing. Say what you're saying. Go where you're going. Think what you're thinking. Sounds good to me. Don't know what you saw, but you know it's against the law. And you know that you want some more. I've heard it all before. Gonna buy an Air Force base. Gonna wipe out your race. Get stoned in a different place. Don't you know I've got better taste? Do what you're doing, say what you're saying, go where you're going, think what you're thinking. Sound good to me. Know that instrumental break with the breakdown and come back in. And they come back in with do what you're doing, spend what you're owing, pay what you're paying, look where you're going, say what you're thinking, kill who you're killing, sing if you're singing, speak if you're speaking. Sounds good to me. So yeah, this song is both a literal celebration of the baggy fashion, street style of the early Manchester scene, but also a metaphor for the Ryder brothers' approach to life and the rules of the society around them. And they have a fairly loose fit to that as well, which always makes me laugh because that's it perfectly, Sean Ryder. So Dave Simpson of Uncut said the band's decision to work with Oakenfold and Osborne inspired everything afterwards, from U2's Achtung Baby, so they're to blame, and the Prodigy's Firestarter to Blur's hooking up with William Orbit. In a retrospective piece for DJ Mag, journalist Ben Cardew said tracks such as Kinky Afro, Loose Fit, and God's Cop erased the genre distinctions between rock, funk, soul, and dance music, making it sound perfectly natural for a band raised in rainy Manchester to create sunshine funk music. And author Richard Luck, which isn't rhyming slang, said in his book The Manchester Scene in 2002 that while the album was neither as coherent nor as polished as the Stone Roses' eponymous debut album, it stood as one of the most important albums from the time period, if only because of Ryder's songwriting and the heady mix of high times and low lives that infuses every track. My particular take on this and why I picked it, I think this is my favourite song off the album. It's all about sort of the vibe and the groove, and you're right. There's almost something hypnotic about that arpeggioed guitar for it as well. But it feels that bit feels like sunshine coming through to me. But the rest of it could easily be a haze, whether it's the haze in the bottom of your glass or through the windows of a smoke-filled den or whatever, or the heat haze on top of a building. But it's that sort of haziness to it, but it's a pleasant haziness. And then you get these moments of clarity, and then it comes back in and out, as you say. It sort of draws you and pulls you in, and it's hypnotic and all those good things. And yeah, and it's on the face of it quite a simple song, but as you experience it, you get a sort of all these subtleties within it that sort of colour your experience. It's a great track. So there you go.
Totally
That's why I
agree.
picked it. I will have to dig out some more Happy Mondays this week because it's pitiful that we've only done two. So there you go. But thanks for listening, Sandy. Appreciate your insights as well. It's always interesting to see what you think about a song which I've known for decades and kind of take for granted. So yeah, folks out there, please tell us what you think. You like this? Please do hit the like button, or someone will come round and twist your melons. And drop some comments as well. I'd love to hear what you think about this song, this album as well. Happy Mondays in general. Did they kill as many pigeons as they claim they did? All these things and more besides, please drop your comments. If you haven't subscribed already, please do. Really appreciate you coming on board. And someone will be along shortly to look after you. So yeah, that being said, thanks so much for watching, and we'll see all of you in the next episode of the Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.